We've heard for a long time, frankly, that the white working class, so the suicide rate's higher, they're least likely to do well at school, white working class boys. We know this. This information has been circulating for decades now. Decades. And even now, things are kicked off. I don't think anything's still going to be done about it.
Well, unfortunately, I think you're right. I mean, I was checking online before I came on air. I was looking at the website of the Common Sense Network. And I mean, just to read just three stats from there, the white working class boys are more likely to fall behind their peers doing A-levels. They're far less likely to go into university and far less likely to go into elite universities. And this one that will really annoy you, as it annoys me and will annoy the viewers and listeners here on Talk, is that a report found that RAF recruiters have been told to favour women and ethnic minority applicants over white applicants to meet diversity targets.
Why? These are the bit. Have we not learned from wars throughout time and 2 world wars? Have we not learned from blimmin' D-Day who are the people who actually go out and defend this country? The problem is this, right? The way I see it, Andrew, is, you know, that we can see how this began, right? We became a deindustrialised economy the more that we globalised. It's kind of difficult to prevent those things from happening. And, you know, one of my heroes, Margaret Thatcher, did shut down mines. That happened, and those jobs were not replaced. And not just that, like you'd mentioned, the armed forces, well, that's been cut in half since the 1980s, since the Falklands conflict. Seriously, if you look at the stats, halved. And of course now, you know, young white men can't get those jobs anyway. It's ridiculous. So you ask yourself, what do people from these communities do? Well, perhaps they go into manual labour. Well, guess what? Probably not anymore, because other people tend to go and get workers. At one point, it was the Poles who all came over and did brilliant work. By the way, we love the Poles, nothing against that. I'd move there tomorrow, given half the opportunity. But they were cheaper. Now it's increasingly Romanians, Albanians, but frankly just people not from here who cost less money and can still do a damn good job. So if they're not able to go into these things, well, what should they go into? Well, we could look at things like car manufacturing. That's a sort of difficult industry which is increasingly becoming more automated. So where do they go? How do we get them back into work and engaged with society, and not just point the finger at them and say, oh, you're lazy, your comedy's outdated, and it's your fault that, you know, everything going on in society is going wrong?
Well, if there were any easy answers to those questions, Alex, I think we probably would have thought of them by now and would hopefully be implementing those policies. I was reminded there when you were talking of a headline, I think around about 25 years ago in the local newspaper to me in East Yorkshire, the Hull Daily Mail. And once again, Hull schools were at the bottom of the league table. And the questions were asked is, why isn't education valued in Hull? And one of the reasons was there was always in the past a vast supply of cheap labour, basically. So people could not attend school, not really get any great qualifications at all, and they could just move into unskilled labour. So that was one of the reasons. But I think one that really struck with me is the kids don't go to school because their parents didn't go to school. And the reason their parents didn't go to school was because their parents didn't go to school. And because it's a generational thing, where I think education and ambition as well, where are some people's ambitions these days? It just does not seem to be there. But then when you put in all these diversity quotas and you feel like they're being marginalised, and we must promote people from different diverse backgrounds, we must promote women, we must get more women into STEM subjects at university. I'm all for that. I know plenty of people, plenty of women who are mathematicians, who are engineers. I'm not against that, but you should not do that at the expense of white working class males. So it's hardly surprising that we've ended up in this situation.
To me, we just need a meritocracy. I'm fed up with all this DEI stuff. The more you look at anything through the prism of race, the more you're just going to get racism. It's that blimmin' simple. You will it into existence, basically. I've just scribbled down on my bit of paper here, right? I'm thinking... I get the company of Andrew Allison for the next sort of 5 minutes or so, who is a great mind and a great heart and a great human. So let's see if we can put our heads together and come up with some policies that we could do, that we would put in place if we ran the world, to help the marginalised white working class. I mean, first of all, I'm getting rid of all cancel culture, DEI and all of that. That's gone. That's gone for the sake of all of us, not just the white working class. Simply, I would go cap on immigration straight away. You know, we don't need... My dad was a lorry driver, and actually his wages were compressed or went down simply because there were loads of guys coming in from other countries driving lorries for less money. And actually during COVID, a really interesting thing happened, didn't it? The bog at the service station, so no one wanted to do it anymore, and all of a sudden there was a huge, oh my God, we need lorry drivers, we're going to pay them six-figure salaries. So guess what?
Exactly.
It does work, right? When you suddenly say that, you know, people from abroad aren't allowed to do these jobs, all of a sudden the wages go up and people at home want to do them again. So clearly, cap on immigration. Technical colleges. We don't need all these blimmin' universities. People have been saying this for ages. Grammar schools, technical colleges. Brilliant for social mobility, brilliant for skills training. Agriculture. I think we need a big focus now on agriculture. I'm not just talking about picking fruit and veg and all of that stuff, although I don't see why we have to bus in people from Lithuania for that, quite frankly. But just agriculture in general. We need to inspire people to get back into farming and some of the rural pursuits as well. And then, of course, let's bring the armed forces back to where they were back in the 1980s and make sure a lot of young white working class men who have nothing to do are given the opportunity to go and get in some nicely decorated barracks which aren't housing people who've just crossed the channel on boats and feel part of something. That's my full policies. Want to add to anything?
It's pretty comprehensive, and I think if those policies were enacted, we would make huge strides, if I may use the word stride.
Huge Mel strides.
This conversation started with Mel stride. It would certainly make huge strides in the right direction. You're completely right about immigration. I mean, if we're importing over 500,000 people into this country, not to do necessarily particularly high-skilled work, but to do manual work in this country, then where are the jobs for those people who haven't done particularly well at skill? You are absolutely correct about technical colleges. We do not need as many universities. We do not need quotas where 50% or at least 50% of our young people need to go into university. We don't need that. And after all, I mean, if you look at plumbing, for example, you know, Charlie Mullins and his company, if I may say, Pimlico Plumbers, I mean, they all seem to do extremely well out of it.
Don't they?
You know, we need people like that. I mean, if something goes wrong in my house with the plumbing, I can't solve it. I did actually try it with the toilet recently, and I ended up almost flooding the place. Yeah. So, you know.
Apparently, we've got to build about a gazillion new houses, don't we? That should hopefully provide a whole load of jobs for young guys around the country. Because, you know, you're right, actually. The one thing that's always going to be needed in life, the one thing that can't just come off a production line, are people who can repair your toilet, wire your house, put up shelves. And these, frankly, are not jobs for Egypts. They might be jobs of people who don't want to, you know, write sonnets and learn about Immanuel Kant's critique of pure reason. Might be jobs for people like that, but it's not jobs for Egypts, because I can't put up a blimmin' shelf. I don't know how to wire a house.
I'm
useless. I can't do it.
I am completely and utterly useless
They're
in anything.
skilled professions. And one thing that's not disappearing is houses. We're going to get a whole load more of them. Infrastructure is going up left, right and centre because it needs to. But you know what, the other day, right, I was driving down the road. I was on the M25, and one of the slip roads was closed because it was being redone, whatever they were doing to it. And it was night time, and as I went by the workers in their high-vis jackets, I noticed that all of them had turbans, and I ain't got a problem with that. I love the Sikhs. Brilliant, hard-working men, absolutely fantastic. But one thing I've noticed in general now is that a lot of our service industry jobs, where once we had the Eastern Europeans, it's a lot of Punjabis now who are coming over to do those jobs. Why? Probably because they're organised visas with companies who recruit people in India to come and do these jobs, and, you know, don't mind them, love them, used to live in India. But this is now the new labour force that is being imported to do the jobs to undercut domestic workers. Yeah. And do you know what I saw next to all these men repairing the roads? There was a van with a big EU flag on it, and on the side it said Euro workers. So it kind of proved my point. These companies are literally set up to actively recruit loads of people. I remember at the coronation, My mate and I camped on the Mall to watch all the bits and bobs go past, and there was huge crowd control in St James Park. Loads of people with high-vis jackets. Again, every single one of those people were Punjabi. And like I said, no problem with that. Love the Punjabis, absolutely fantastic. But why? Why was that not a UK security firm with UK men and women doing that? Why do we have to, when we've got a big job to do, suddenly get on the blower to a country and say, can you do this for £3 an hour instead of paying people a decent wage?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Sorry, my son has decided to get into the frame.
I heard him. Hello, darling. How are you? Hiya.
Hi.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, we've got so much labour ourselves that that this unskilled, needs training and all the rest of it, and yet we seem to recruit it from abroad.
Yeah, we do. What's your son's name, by the way?
So, sorry?
What's your son's name?
Oh, he's Dominic.
Right, Dominic. Come here, Dominic.
Come here.
Get on.
He barged on the telly earlier.
Yeah, if you're going to interrupt my interview, you're going to be interviewed. That's how the game goes, I'm afraid, Dominic. Dominic, what do you want to be when you grow up?
A YouTuber.
Oh, no! No, Dominic. Do you know, the same question was asked of my brother. I reckon my brother's son's about the same age as yours, right? The same question was asked of their class, and apparently my brother said to me, every single kid in the class said a YouTuber. Dominic, there's better things to do, believe me. Have a word with you, Andrew. It ties in quite nicely to this conversation, doesn't it? So have a word. Oh, Dominic, Andrew, thank you ever so much. It's been a real delight talking to both of you in the end. Buy one, get one free. Lucky me.